Welcome to Vodafone Firestarters, a traveling live show on innovation and the mobile internet that hooks up with art, technology, fashion, and music events. And today at ADE Next, we will be talking about music, obviously. ADE Next is the talent platform of the Amsterdam Dance event, which focuses on young producers and DJs. And the shows will be available as online videos after the event via VodafoneFirestarters.nl. The main topic of today's show will be licensing, making music for games and building apps. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our esteemed guests today, who will introduce themselves, I hope, if they can, in one tweet. Mark.
Okay, my name is Mark Romboy. I'm running the record label Systematic Recordings, which is also a publishing company. And sometimes I DJ as well.
My name is Martin Hewitt. I work in Sony PlayStation in London. I license music for titles such as SingStar, Gran Turismo, Wipeout, Little Big Planet, and have I run out of letters yet? And license for games and adverts and trailers.
Ronnie.
My name is Ronnie Krieger. I used to set up the Beatport Europe office, and after a little break, I have now started working with a band called Mode Selector and helped them to get their labels Monkey Town and 50 Weapons started.
And Jason will introduce himself when he gets here. Let's start out with ADE this week. I know you have been here for a few days. You've been here all week, I think.
A few days.
A few days. Marco, when did you arrive?
3 hours ago.
3 hours ago.
Yeah.
So you have a fresh view on ADE 2011. But you've been here, you just said, I think, since '97.
Yep.
What for you? And we're going to talk about what are the topics of this year's ADE. Do you think is the idea of ADE 2011? What are the hot topics that people talk about? What is important for you?
I have no idea because so far I only talked about the weather here.
maybe that's the common ground that everyone finds.
No, I'm just here for 30 minutes. I cannot say what's the hot topic, but these guys should.
But over the last years, since '97, did you find something new at ADE every time you went there, or was it just hanging in the bar, or just playing with friends, or
drinking Heineken in the bar? Yeah. No, but I have to say that especially technological development is a very hot topic since the last years, and it's becoming more and more important. And when everything started here in the 90s, it was more about labels meeting each other and doing licensing deals and finding a partner to exploit the music. And now it's much more diverse. I think that's a good thing.
We're gonna get into that soon. For you, did you have something happening this week?
For me, it's kind of been mainly meeting lots of people that I don't get a chance to meet face to face, people from Europe and America. So I've had a lot of meetings, interesting panels. I've seen a few. For me, it's about kind of finding new music that I can maybe use. That's what it's been about.
And Ronnie?
Well, this ADE is very interesting and very funny and very relaxing for me, actually, because I used to work at Beatport before, and we did have, like, I don't know, 10,000 or whatever labels. So my schedule used to be like half-hour meetings all day long. And now that I'm not working for Beatport anymore, I'm here for Mode Selector, and I had, I think, 5 distribution meetings in 4 days, and, you know, very few friendly talks with people from the industry. So it is the most relaxed ADE I've ever had in many years, so that's very good.
So yesterday you were at the Mode Selector gig, I think, in Paradiso.
Yes.
Can you tell a little bit about their new live show, because they do a lot of with visuals as well, which is one of the important parts of their of the show.
Well, they've for many years now, with the Mode Selector project as well as the Moderat project, they wanted to do more than just be on stage with a laptop. And, you know, there's not many elements if you're not a classical trained musician that you can really do apart from visuals. So they had the fortunate scenario to have a very good visual team with the Pfadfinderei in Berlin. They're very experienced, very unique in the stuff that they do. And all through the years, they've always developed new concepts. And right now, it's still very early stage because the album came out on the 30th of September and they played the first show on the 29th. And it's still in a process where the visuals still get slightly changed, the tracklist gets slightly changed, and they're still, it was a completely new setup, finding ways to get it build up fast enough, and there are always technical problems or whatever. So yesterday as well, if anyone was there, apologies for the long wait, but it still takes a long time to build it up, and there's still some technical problems to get all the stuff sorted. But generally speaking, it was a sold-out show. It was really, really lovely. I think the people liked it. Mode Selector really liked it. They had a lot of fun. And they also played a very spontaneous DJ set on that DJ Broadcast did on a boat somewhere, and that I think was also a lot of fun. You know, it was a free party, so it was a really, really lovely night. And for me, it was the only night I went out. I'm a family man now, so I don't go out to 5 label parties every single night. So it was during the whole 80, it was the only party I went to, and it was good.
You just told me you met your wife at ADE.
I did. Yeah, we met at ADE, we got married at ADE, and now we celebrate our anniversary here every year.
Wow.
So ADE brings people together in many ways. We're going to go to a few statements about subjects you all have to deal with, or whether you want it or not, or maybe you don't deal with it at all and just let it happen.
I don't agree. I mean, it's music is music. It doesn't matter where it ends up to be used. It takes always a lot of effort to do quality music.
I actually support the games, the music for the game side of things. I think the industry's taken quite a different turn, and I think that it's going to be big.
I love the idea of placing music in video games, and I have placed some songs in games and movies, and more. It's great.
And yes, there are definitely examples of where it does, where it overshadows the art and the music. But I mean, not that I can top of my mind come up, but I'm sure that there are also very good examples of where they can be combined in a positive way.
I think to have music in games, correct? And in that format, I think that's an amazing thing. My artist has actually had his vocals in games before, and it adds so much character and so much playfulness.
I would like to know from you if you think crafting sound for games and movies takes the art out of making music. Mark.
No.
No?
You just yes, no answer? Obviously no.
Yeah. Ronnie?
I think, you know, if you...
yes or no?
I can't say yes or no.
Okay. Okay, so then explain why you can't say yes or no.
Well, the thing is that if you look at the traditional form of music, like many years ago, people were actually listening to music with the record sleeve in their hand and just listening to music, doing nothing else. Nowadays, that's not really the contemporary form of listening to music anymore, because most people listen to music while they answer emails, while they do something else, maybe even listen to music, watch TV, and read a book at the same time. That's just how people are these days. So looking at the old school perception of consuming music, I would say yes, it is against the traditional art of music, but since the habit of everyone nowadays has changed anyways, doesn't do a difference. It just fits to the lifestyle of people. And, you know, driving a car while listening to the music is also a combination that is kind of known, because many people did that while driving anyways in their cars. So it might take you away from 100% of focus on just listening to the music, but that is just the way life is anyways these days. So it's a...
So is Motor Selector in games?
Yes,
music?
they are. We've done, I don't know why, but I think we can talk about that later, but I think it always really depends on what the people who make these selections really like. And if you have the fortunate scenario that these people like your music, then it is usually a scenario that happens not only once, but several times. So Mode Selector, I've been fortunate enough to be in Rockstar games, I think 4 or 5 times or whatever. So once you got someone to be interested in your music, it usually helps you to be reconsidered.
And can you pay the new live show from being in Rockstar?
There haven't been any games lately, and I think it would not quite be enough. But fortunately, Mode Selector are touring like I think 100 dates a year or something. So we don't need that income to pay for the live show. It's crazy expensive. I mean, if you have a team of visual artists to work for half a year to make your visuals with 7 people, it does cost money. But they're in a fortunate position. They are not just starting. They've been around for a while. They get a good fee. So you know, after half the tour, whatever, they will have paid for everything.
Mark, it
Yes.
took a few seconds before you gave the answer, and there was a little smile on your face. What's your take on the subject?
Well, it took some time because I didn't sleep last night. So the synapse speed is a bit slow today. No, but my no is 100% because music is music. Here's my ear. And when I see this, my ear cannot see it. So music can cause a certain emotion, and the visuals or a game or an interaction can only support this emotion. So a definite no.
Do you work with companies that make games, or do you have songs that are in movies?
Yeah, from time to time we have this, but nothing very popular, so nothing mainstream. But we work a lot with videos, and my wife is also a video director. So I know how it is. What I really like is when you have a song and you know this song and you like it, and then a couple of weeks later or months later you see a video synchronized to the music. My emotion becomes more if the video is a good video or if you have good visuals. So it's the future anyway.
But you talk about it in a way that maybe there was a moment in the beginning that you thought, well, maybe this is not. I don't really want to have my music be in something that is a product selling thing for something else.
Oh no.
No problem.
It really depends. It depends on the combination. Depends on what is offered. But no, not at all. That would be stupid in my eyes.
Maybe if we were here 10 years ago, it would be a different discussion. Do you think that is the case, or maybe 15 years? I don't know.
I don't know. I think it depends on what the game is, where you are as an artist, what sort of band you are. I think it's kind of, it isn't always the case that the music sells the game. People buy games for the game. The music is kind of works with the game. So if you get a really good piece of music synced to the right game by the right artists, it helps both the game be better and also helps the artist reach a different audience. I mean, I think you're quite right. You're not going to pay a live tour off a game sync, but then you're probably not going to pay a live tour off a movie sync.
Mm-hmm.
Those sorts of really big deals aren't really there, or there's a few of them, but there's only a few of them, and they probably go to the really big artists.
Okay, thanks. We're going to go to the next statement with a video.
Oh, I know this.
You recognize it?
You didn't ask me.
Well, Mark recognized it instantly, I think. Is this your finger? We're seeing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. My wonderful finger.
Yeah.
I think you can get creative in certain parts where you couldn't with the old style. So there's pluses and minuses. But no, again, yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Now I can DJ and have some great visuals and still sing live and play some music, and so it's beautiful how it's brought us together. You know, for anyone who's a music producer can pretty much use the same technology and produce a fantastic show that's, you know, more visual live. People go to see the music, you know, as much as they're listening to it.
Those who want to stay traditional, stay traditional. I feel like in music and everything, it's always evolving. those that want to evolve with the times, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. To go commercial or to evolve with new technology.
It doesn't matter what you use technically to produce what you have in mind, to produce a show in this case. There are still some DJs performing with vinyl, even though it's a very small minority at the moment.
A traditional DJ performance is no longer acceptable with all this new technology that is available. Yes or no?
No.
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 No?
No.
Okay. So that's clear. So vinyl is still the love for vinyl is still okay if people just want to play 2 records and are good at it.
Of course.
But you don't do that anymore?
Well, I stopped with vinyl like 5 years ago, after I played it for almost 20 years. Switched over to CD for 2-3 years, and then 1 year ago I switched over to Tractor 1 and now 2, and I want to develop a little bit, and vinyl, I'm still pressing vinyl as a label because I want to deliver the vinyl lovers their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to me personally, I don't want to do this anymore.
You were in this video. Can you tell a little bit about how this works? It's called Emulator.
Yeah, it's called Emulator. It's a collaboration of 2 guys from Argentina and Canada. They started to do a company together called Smith & Martin, and they developed a multi-touch MIDI controller, which you can use on your tablet PC, for instance, but you can also use it on a large screen, and this is actually what I am using also tonight at Chicago Social Club. If you want to come, feel free. You're invited. And so my tool is a 42-inch screen with a projector, and yeah, I play as a DJ with touch like a huge iPhone, and it's good fun. And what I have to say is the screen is transparent, so the audience can see my panel as well. So it's totally controllable in a way, but a nice show effect. Back in the days when you went to a club, it was only, again, the audio signal which reached your brain, and the visuals were not really important. And now we are entering a stage also with his support, and also with his mode selector band, that visuals become more and more interesting and more influential. And I really like this aspect because I have more than ears, and my idea was like, why not using these tools? Why not using new developments? That's it.
You know, Mode Selector always from the first record on had a very technological approach. You know, they've been part of that so-called IDM or whatever scene. They've been using max patches to play live or whatever. It was always based on technology. So it would have kind of looked ridiculous if they would be touring with, you know, traditional vinyl or something like that. And I think their ambition is just really far beyond. You probably heard that as well, this big fallout with Richie Horton on Facebook or something that just happened. And I just can't believe that people are still so emotional about this vinyl or digital domain. You know, it shouldn't even be a topic anymore, because in the end, what does a DJ do? He either plays, or she either plays good music and you have a good party, or not. And if they play that from their iPhone, from vinyl or whatever, it doesn't matter at all, because it all used to be the fact that you don't even care about the DJ. You used to dance, you interact with people, and whatever that person does there is completely irrelevant anyways. That was the role of a DJ for a long time. So I think ultimately it really just depends on what kind of music they play. And then DJs have different ambitions. Some people really love technology and want to do more than just mixing 2 records, because ultimately, in no disrespect to vinyl DJs, learning to beat sync 2 records is something that pretty much anyone can do with a little bit of practice. It's not so challenging, like, because some days you hear that from the vinyl purists saying like, you can't even mix 2 records anymore. But hey, if they would switch with someone like Richie Horton or whatever and see how they multi-layer things with sync drum machines and stuff like that, they'd be completely lost in trying.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, it's not a battle, it's not a championship, it just depends on what you want to do. But ultimately, in the end, regardless of what you do, the only thing that cares is the music that you play, and it either works or it doesn't work, and that's all.
And what kind of discussion was there? Was it with on Facebook? Because I didn't see that.
I don't know all the details. I've just heard that he had posted something where it was seen as an offense against a vinyl DJ or something, and then I've heard there was a massive, like thousands of people commenting. Do you know more about it?
Many comments. Yeah, people totally freaked out. There were some not so nice comments, but you can check it out on Facebook yourself. It's you have some hours to read all through this.
I've just seen that Richie then kind of apologized, and he posted a picture of him as a child with a birthday cake that looked like a vinyl player or something. So I think this was just like, hey, I'm not against vinyl or something. But anyway, this debate is completely ridiculous, and I don't try to pay any attention to it really, because it has been going on for so long. And all the years that I've been working with Beatport, I heard from so many people that I'm the enemy and that I've destroyed the music in its true form or whatever. And I just really didn't care. You know, doesn't matter to me. There's still vinyl around, people still support it like you do for financial or mostly emotional reasons, and you know, everybody should choose whatever they want to do. I don't care.
More emotional than financial, of course.
All right, let's go to the next statement.
I don't think we can eliminate the role, and as much as us artists are trying to do so many things now, you know, the role of the publisher, I think, is kind of sacred in that they really can help fast track an artist to a bigger market.
If you really want to make it big and do that, you need management, you need somebody to back you and promote you and stuff like that.
It just depends on the artist, what their needs are, in what capacity they can handle their business. Do they want to just be a full-time artist, or do they want to spend time on the business side?
Publishing is very important. The royalties that come from publishing are a very important part of the music industry.
The role of the music publisher will be over in this DIY era.
No, not at all.
It becomes more important than ever. Yeah,
it becomes more important.
Yeah, exactly, because there are so many more layers, there's so many more formats and so many more ways. It's actually quite a challenge to do the administration. I just had a meeting with a friend this morning, and we were talking about this. You know, when Beyoncé puts out her album in 150 or 160 different formats, that's just still one album. Who is to administer all that? You know, and it's gone much crazier now with all the technology use and all the use of parts or whatever. Somebody needs to administer that, and I think any label or any artist in the world would be completely lost try to do it on their own, especially worldwide. No way.
Yeah, I mean, publishers are all about income streams, small income streams, but every income stream, and I don't think labels are really geared up to deal with that, and you need someone who's specialised in collecting performance, mechanical, all those streams.
So the role of the label will be over more than the music publisher.
No, I think there's room for labels, but I think labels just have to be more agile. They have to kind of be like sure of what they're doing. The days of kind of massive promotional campaigns with no back end sales are over.
Yeah, but it's more likely that the label is more that the publisher is more important in the future. It's very likely. Because when it comes to the label work, every private person can go to aggregation company and say, okay, please distribute this to iTunes, Beatport, etc.
But will that work?
When it comes to publishing, it's a bit more complex, and actually you have to study for this.
Yeah, I mean, the internet gives you access to a wide range of people. You don't have to be physically in a store, which you used to many years ago.
So we're going to the what we call the conversation piece. Just going to put it on the table, and I have to tell you that I was looking for my vinyl copy of a Björk album, and I couldn't find it because I didn't look in my vinyl collection for 2 years already. So for people who don't buy records anymore, this is vinyl record. You might recognize it.
Oh, nice one.
It's
Basement Jacks? No.
No, it's NERD. It's very limited, I think. Or this one in the time that it would be interesting to put Kylie Minogue on a record. So what we're going to talk about is, and this is sort of like a CD box of a single. Going to talk about Björk a little bit, and obviously because it's been a conversation piece this week, the maker of her iPhone or of her iPad app was here to talk about it, and we've got a small clip of Biophilia.
I think there won't be any follow-ups to this app because he described that about 40 people were working on it for 15 months. And the only way they could get it done is that everyone involved did it as kind of like they get a percentage. But how often can they do that commercially? You know, that's something that you can do once or twice or 3 times or whatever. And this could never be paid by anyone. I mean, 1.5 years to have a team of 40 people or whatever were involved, that would cost so much money that, you know, a handful of artists in the world could do it, and most of them wouldn't because, you know, they would say, why should I bother? I mean, you know, Björk is a very special personality, but this is absolutely insane. And what I learned as well in that panel is that it's all coded. You know, most of the stuff looks like a video, but it's not. It's actually code, and they try to emulate the life of cells, and it's this super crazy stuff. I think it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But I doubt that this is going to be the future because this is you know, Star Wars. It's not possible for most artists.
Every song on the album has a different sort of interactive little game that you can alter the music yourself. What he also talked about was he talked about vinyl as a time where people still have a real interaction with an artist for longer than 30 seconds, in like nowadays maybe, and that with something like this you can make the connection stronger again. Do you feel that there's a need for that kind of stuff? I mean, you do it with a live show in a way.
I think there is a need, actually. I don't think it's that much different from playing Gran Turismo and listening to music that comes with it in sync, or to listening to a DVD of somebody who actually directed a great video. I mean, most of the videos right now, I have to say, are just there for the purpose of having a video, but they're completely ridiculous and stupid, and they don't use the movie as an art form. It's just I need some pictures to it so I can stream it on YouTube or on my Facebook. But if it all works well, if it's a great combination, I mean, the visual sense is so strong that it can actually really help to support the music. I have one good example, even though I do know Paul Kalkbrenner occasionally, and I've followed his music through the years. I've never been a fan of his music personally. When I saw the Berlin Calling movie, somehow it clicked, and I actually went to the store and bought the music because I had this emotional element to it, and it did fit, and I found an approach to music, and I think half of the CD is stuff that I've knew before because it wasn't brand new, and just somehow fit. And I think everyone, like Trainspotting or whatever is your soundtrack, you somehow find the approach to music through the visuals. If it's well done, if it's a great combination, then it works really, really well. And I think this stuff can help. A good combination with games can help. A great music video can help. If you can combine senses, you know, many people have done that as a research with smelling, with feeling, with watching, with whatever. It's fantastic if you can get these things done, but it has to be done right to have these effects.
Yeah, he also said it would only be interesting, really interesting, for someone to do something like this if he is sort of like an artist himself and has a clear idea about visual qualities, not something other than the music just itself. Did you check this iPad app?
I feared you asked me this. Oh, yes, I downloaded it, and I was so overwhelmed that I deleted it again.
That you didn't do it?
I deleted it again.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because it was too complicated to me.
It was too complicated.
Yeah, maybe I was not patient. Maybe I was not patient enough. But you know how it is. You have 2 million apps on your iPhone, and I played a bit with it, and then I couldn't do anything. And
so that's a very modern problem in that sense, because we're talking about getting a new connection with the artist. Maybe your basic need for connection with Björk isn't there, so you won't pay more.
There's a connection. I'm just talking honest. That's another perspective which might be interesting. However, when I hear him, I maybe purchase it again and check it out again, because I can imagine that it can be pretty exciting to use it, but this was my first touch.
Do you have a lot of friends in coding and art that you could make an app yourself with?
Well, we made already apps ourselves. I released an album with my friend Stefan Botzin at the beginning of the year, and we made an app together with a actually Dutch company called Line, but they are based in Berlin. You might know them, and they also work together with Richie Horton and Dubfire and Joris Vaughan, and we made a very nice mixing app for our album Luna. And this is something which really excites me. It's nice, and we are now doing a competition that people can make their own mix, upload it on SoundCloud, and that's something totally new to me. It's really exciting because it's a new way that fans can feedback, and I'm really looking forward to hear the results. And I think it's just the beginning, so future will be exciting.
And where can we find that in the store? Under which name?
When you enter, for example, my name and Luna, the name of the album, or Stefan's name, you suddenly all of a sudden find it, and it's not so expensive.
How much does this cost? Do you know?
It's free actually.
It's free.
There's a basic version that is free, and then you can upgrade to more ones. I think they just wanted to have a wide reach and get as many people as possible interested, like Mark.
Of course.
And then you just download it, check it out, and if you're into it. But I think ultimately it really always depends. With music as well, there are people who absolutely love music, but they only want to hear mainstream pop music because they don't want to be challenged. They want to clean the house and hear nice melodies, and that's all they do. But they absolutely love music. It's not that they hate it; they just want that type of music. And then there are other people who are always looking for something new, for something challenging. And they want to listen to an album that when they listen to it the first time, they're like, oh, I have no idea if I like this or not, and they need to listen to it again. But not everybody wants to do this, and I think it's the same with technology with apps. Some people want to have a remix app where you can have 4 faders, and all you do is put these 4 faders up and down, and other people want to have apps like this where they spend a year on finding out what else they can find. And people are just different, and it's
exactly.
Like you're producing music as well. I mean, a good example for me is always Native Instruments Reactor. That's definitely not for everyone because it's so complex. Some people prefer to have a monophonic synthesizer, and other people prefer to have something like Max DSP or Reactor. It really always depends on the person.
Exactly.
We're going to go to a question round. We ask you each to prepare a question for one of the others, or maybe all. I don't think we have time for to ask everyone a question, but we have you had a question for.
I have a question for Martin actually.
For Martin,
cool. Because the thing is, what I realized is, there is about. I remember from the Beatport days, there is about 10 to 20,000 dance music tracks released every week, I would guess. How many games does your company do, and how much music do you actually use a year?
It's kind of a tough question to answer. I work for Sony PlayStation, so I work on the games that we develop. So we have our SingStar franchise. We also have like Little Big Planet, Wipeout, MotorStorm, Killzone, a few other franchises. SingStar we license a lot because we have an online store with songs going up every week. We have like nearly 3,000 songs you can download and sing.
But let me be precise, like dance music, because since it's this ADE, how many dance music songs do you think you license in games?
Probably only about 20 or 30, but then, as I said earlier, it's like the game leads to the music. Like I'm working on a version of Wipeout at the moment, so that's kind of like 15 dance tracks. But then we have trailers, so we use things for trailers as well, for games fairs and online. So that can bump it up, but sometimes they're the same song as in the game, because you want to make that link. But then I work in the European arm, but then we also have an American arm, but they kind of license a lot of music too. So I can't really talk for them. So we use a lot of music and a lot of kind of varied music. So dance music is one aspect, and it can be from people like Square Pusher or Plaid, which are kind of dance, but they're not kind of dance floor, to Chemical Brothers or something which is a bit more. So.
Okay. You have a question?
I had a question,
you had a question
for Jason.
For Jason, well, I don't know if he's here. No, not yet.
I'll ask him later.
Mark, do you have a question for one of the other two
Yeah, of course. Only one, right?
Well, we can start with one.
No, it's okay. I have a question for you. Is Sony PlayStation planning a program like GarageBand that you can make your own music in a semi-professional way?
Well, we had a DJ game many years ago, 2005, way before DJ Hero and all that stuff. I think there's something in development that has some of those elements, but I think it comes back to what you were saying, in that most people, if you want to write music properly, you can go buy a full music program like Pro Tools or something. So you need to have something, if it's on a game, that has that instant playability. Like I bought the Kraftwerk app, which is kind of very beautifully designed and kind of you can play with it, but it's not so simple like 4 faders. So I don't know. I mean, I only work for PlayStation that makes games. So someone else can make a game. You can make a game and put it out on PlayStation.
So it's still a secret.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But I really wanted to ask my question because, like, you know, the conferences like ADE, you always have these technology topics and whatever. And since the record sales are shrinking, it's always like, what do we need to do to survive? And one of the topics I heard this year and like last year, whatever, is like to be able to survive, you need to have game syncing and you know, movie syncing or whatever. And the problem really is like I can only talk for Beatport, but I think Beatport has a relatively comprehensive program, and it was 10 to 20,000 tracks a week. And then consider, I mean, there's Sony and there's a couple of others, but there aren't that many game producers. So let's say there are, you know, maybe 200 tracks used a year in dance music through all the games, and there are 10 to 20,000 tracks produced and released a week. Then you can see how should that save the music industry from failing, because, you know, ultimately a tiny group would survive, and these are usually established artists. In very rare cases, an unknown artist has the chance to be part of these games. So it is not the solution. There must be other ways. So don't rely on games or on TV, otherwise you'll be dead sooner than you think.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, some people ask me, how do they get music to me? What do I look for? And I go out looking for music as well as being sent it. So if you're doing a good job as an artist, a label, and making a buzz, then I will come looking for you too. So it's kind of a two-way thing. But I mean, obviously there's advertising and other things, but they are kind of revenue streams. They aren't necessarily kind of a full replacement to physical sales that have dropped. But
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go to questions from you in the audience. If you have any questions, we're gonna get to you with a mic and with the camera. So you.
Still too early.
Yeah. So, any questions for any of my guests here? And feel free to ask anything if you're a developer or you make music, or you just want to plug your own album. Or no questions at all. Sorry.
Zijn we aan? Ja. Yeah, well, you were just talking about making music on the PlayStation, and I know that a few of the dubstep guys started out making music, people like Benga and Scream, on the PlayStation, actually producing, well, a large amount of their first tracks on the PlayStation. Don't you think PlayStation let a huge chance go by to actually get in there and, you know, work with those guys who are obviously really huge at the moment?
Well, I've kind of worked with Scream previously on a Wipeout game, kind of in 2006, 7, something like that. So when he was still kind of up and coming, because I kind of knew him from distribution days we were talking earlier. It comes down to the same thing we were talking about, the Bjork thing, which I haven't checked out. But there is, making any sort of game product, there's a big cost to that. So there's decisions made from people much higher than me on what is the most viable thing to develop. So yeah, I mean, I work on a fraction of the games that are available on PlayStation. So yeah,
okay.
I can't really answer.
So what do you, Ronnie and Mark, think about this? I mean, making music with a game station, it should be. I mean, there should be something in there, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's interesting for a group of people, but, you know, if you look at the gaming industry and look at the dance industry, Mark and I, we are probably looking on a successful single release if we can sell a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000 these days, maybe a little bit more as a physical product. If you look at the gaming industry, if you hear the numbers of one of these big selling games released, there is a significant gap of the sales target. I mean, if there are like, you know, let's say 2,000 people in the world who are interested to produce music with a PlayStation game, I doubt that any of the high executives at Sony think that these 2,000 people would be viable to produce a game for 2 years. I don't know.
I think it comes down to exactly that. There's a development budget for any game, and that can be kind of run into millions of pounds. I think stuff like the iPhone store is like App Store is a way where you can get those sort of products to people. I always look at music apps when I go on the store because I think it's a really interesting way of kind of getting kind of cool ideas to people in a kind of simpler way, like a very simple. Most people have a phone. You know, if it's on Apple and Android, then you've got kind of probably 80% of the potential target audience. So I think there's kind of that's where I think there could probably be some very interesting things with dance music, for want of a generic term.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, it's like iPads,
All
like
set.
the kind of it's a beautiful thing to kind of deal with. It's like touchscreen. It's kind of like that DJ thing looks really great.
I mean, ultimately, that's going to be the biggest challenge for any of these big giant game producers because, you know, anyone can submit an app to the iTunes store. Anyone can do that. And if you have a little bit of coding knowledge and you have a great idea, you can sit down, develop a game for zero cost, bring it out there and have the next potential million seller or whatever. And, you know, these advantages that you have to have basically no risk and produce innovative things, I think ultimately over the next couple of years is going to be a super challenge for the Sonys and the whatever's in the world. I think it's...
Yeah, I mean, but then again, you look at sort of, I was reading an interesting article about the people who developed Angry Birds, and they've done lots of games before they did Angry Birds, and they spent a long time kind of really trying to get the exact feel, and they aimed it kind of particularly to sort of that simple 2-minute experience, whereas game platforms tend to deal with slightly bigger, more immersive experience. You know, you probably play a Call of Duty on your iPhone or one of those a mobile device, but it's not the same experience as sitting in front of a big screen. I think they're aimed at different markets. Myself, because I think people play games in more ways.
Let me say the iPad then, because that is closer to.
Yeah, but I mean, they play games at home, but they also play games on the move, and I don't think the games on the move will kind of stop them playing them at home. I think it's kind of just it's become more. People spend more time looking at their phone.
And they have a huge team of producers. So how many people are working on a game like Wipeout? 20, 30, 40?
Probably about 40 for a couple of years. So it's kind of a lot of money.
So if Banger uses it to produce music, it doesn't really matter.
No, I can't remember the name of the game, but there was an old PlayStation 2 game that lots of people made music on. Actually tried to license a track by someone who made music on that, but I couldn't find him.
But
It was a bootleg.
No,
I mean, it's. I was saying it because it's not just about sales; it's also about being cool, you know. And if people know that the dubstep is kind of based on this modern-day device, which is the PlayStation, it could, in the end, obviously boost your sales in other regions.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a reasonable case. I mean, I don't make those sort of decisions, I'm afraid. I use a lot of dubstep, but kind of not as much as I want because of the way the game works. You know, it's kind of a little bit slow for a driving game, even though it's really good.
What's good for a driving game? What's the best artist for a driving game?
I don't know.
Hard techno.
Hard techno.
The one that works. I mean, it can be. I know on the games in Europe, we tend to use more dance music. I know American office or American companies tend to use more rock still, but we don't really put too much rock stuff on games like Gran Turismo anymore. We used to, like Queens of the Stone Age, that sort of type of rock. We don't. It's mainly electronic. So what do we have on? Had Sub Focus, Noisia, and a few other people. Scuba on the last Gran Turismo. So kind of it's that end of the spectrum.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions? Time for one more, maybe? No more questions. We're gonna do another panel in half an hour if you want to stick around. Thank you for watching Vodafone Firestarters at the Amsterdam Dance Event. And be sure to follow us on Twitter @FirestartersNL. And check this and all the other shows out on VodafoneFirestarters.nl. See you next time. Thank you.
Thanks.